Welcome to Module 5. In this session I'm going to take a detailed look at PACES, the practical assessment of clinical examination skills. This is the clinical component of the MRCP, and for many doctors it's the most stressful stage of the entire process. My aim in this module is to explain what PACES really involves, why it feels so different from the written exams, and how you can begin preparing your clinical habits long before you actually book a place. PACES is not primarily a test of memory. It is a test of how you function as a clinician in real time. It assesses your ability to take a focused history, perform a structured, technically sound physical examination, identify and interpret physical signs, communicate clearly and compassionately, construct a sensible differential diagnosis and management plan, and demonstrate professional behaviour throughout. In other words, PACES asks, can this doctor function safely and competently at the level of a medical registrar? Knowledge underpins all of this, but knowledge on its own will not pass PACES. PACES is uniquely stressful because it places you under direct, continuous observation. At every station you're interacting with real patients or actors, carrying out hands-on clinical tasks, and being watched closely by two consultants who are scoring you on what you do, what you say, and how you behave. That situation, performing under timed conditions on unfamiliar patients with two senior physicians silently observing every movement, is very different from a normal ward round or clinic. Even strong, confident trainees can find their performance affected by nerves. Part of preparing for PACES is not just learning what to do, but learning how to do it calmly and under scrutiny. The current PACES format, known as PACES 23, is organised as a carousel of 5 stations, each lasting 20 minutes. The stations are Station 1, Communication Skills and the Respiratory Examination. This is a 10-minute communication encounter and a 10-minute respiratory system exam. Station 2 is a consultation station lasting 20 minutes, a full clinical consultation integrating focus history, examination, explanation and questions. Station 3 is cardiovascular and neurological examinations. This comprises a 10-minute cardiovascular examination and a 10-minute neurological examination. Station 4 is communication skills again and the abdominal examination. This is a 10-minute communication skills encounter and a 10-minute abdominal examination. And finally, Station 5 is another consultation station lasting 20 minutes. This is an integrated clinical consultation often with a different style or acuity to Station 2. In Stations 2 and 5, history taking, examination, communication, differential diagnosis and management planning are tested together in a realistic, integrated way. There's no longer a standalone history-only station. Across all 5 stations, you're assessed repeatedly in 7 skills: physical examination, identifying physical signs, clinical communication, history taking, clinical judgment and differential diagnosis, managing patient concerns, maintaining patient welfare and professional behaviour. Your scores across these skills, rather than just individual stations, determine whether you pass. Compared with Part 1 and Part 2 written, PACES is live, not on paper. Mistakes cannot be edited or undone. You must prioritise, decide and explain in real time. Your manner, empathy and professionalism are visible throughout. It tests the whole clinician, not just the knowledge base. In routine clinical practice, almost everyone takes shortcuts. Partial respiratory examinations, quick listens to the heart, abbreviated abdominal examinations, skipping parts of the neurological exam when the diagnosis is obvious. These shortcuts are understandable in a busy job, but they're not acceptable in PACES. In the examination, consultants expect a clear, structured, reproducible examination sequence, correct exposure and positioning, accurate use of the stethoscope and hands, appropriate special tests, and a tidy, confident finish with a concise summary. You are being marked on how you examine just as much as on what you find. This precision does not appear overnight. It requires deliberate practice and usually conscious unlearning of any sloppy habits that have accumulated over the years. The presence of 2 examiners in each station can significantly change how you perform. To manage this, You need to practice being watched, by peers, by seniors, or in small teaching groups. You should get used to speaking your findings and reasoning out loud. You should rehearse exam-style introductions, explanations, and closures until they feel natural. The goal is not to act a part, but to ensure that your everyday clinical practice is exam-ready, structured, safe, and explainable. PACES also has practical challenges. Slots at exam centres can be limited. You may need to travel. Rotas and night shifts can disrupt your preparation. Finding suitable patients, peers, or local teaching sessions requires organisation. Successful candidates typically plan their date well in advance, ensure a run-up of several months of focused clinical practice, and use structured resources to supplement their day-to-day exposure. The best preparation for PACES begins months before you submit your application. On ward rounds, commit to doing proper, full examination whenever time allows. In clinics, practice delivering clear, structured explanations of diagnoses and management. After seeing a patient summarise aloud, "This is a 64-year-old patient with X or Y. My main findings are this or that. My differential diagnosis is this, and my plan is this." Ask your seniors for feedback, not just on your knowledge, but on your technique and communication. These habits mean that when you later start formal PACES preparation, you're refining existing strengths rather than trying to build everything from scratch under time pressure. One of the most challenging parts of PACES is identifying physical signs reliably. Many of the classic exam findings are relatively uncommon in day-to-day rotations, clustered in particular specialties or clinics, or seen briefly and then not encountered again for years or months. Examples include classic murmurs such as mitral stenosis, bronchial breathing and other subtle respiratory signs, specific neurological patterns, movement disorders, stigmata of chronic liver disease, or signs of connective tissue disease or systemic disease. Most trainees simply do not see enough of these signs on enough different patients to become truly fluent through routine clinical work alone. Yet in PACES, identifying and correctly interpreting these signs is central to your score. This is exactly where Clinical Skills Pro is designed to help. The platform includes a vast library of studio-filmed clinical encounters with real patients, each developing genuine clinical signs. Real heart murmurs recorded with high-quality audio, authentic respiratory signs, neurological examinations with clear observable abnormalities, abdominal findings, and a wide range of pathology rarely encountered repeatedly in standard ward work. Use this alongside your everyday clinical practice, and it will allow you to repeatedly see and hear the key signs that PACES tests, learn what they look and sound like in real people, and link these signs to differential diagnoses and management plans. In other words, Clinical Skills Pro helps bridge the gap between the limited variety of signs that you see at work and the wide variety that you're expected to recognise confidently in PACES. In the next module, I'll move away from individual exam formats and focus on building an effective revision strategy across the whole MRCP journey. We'll look at how to plan your time, how to structure your weeks around a busy rota, and how to combine resources, question banks, video libraries, and clinical experience into a coherent, sustainable plan. Thank you for joining me for this session. When you're ready, let's move on to Module 6, where we'll begin shaping your long-term revision strategy for the MRCP.